This week, it's a food special with a groundbreaking greenhouse heated by sewage, robots that dish up your dinner, the ultimate pizza, and Heston Blumenthal does this. Hey, welcome to Click. Hope you're doing okay. I don't know what it's like where you are, but over here restrictions are being lifted and many more places are going to be able to reopen soon, which, if I'm honest, feels a bit strange. I don't know how you feel about it, Lara.
Yeah, I think I've already adapted to some things about lockdown, although I'll be very pleased to get this fixed. And also hospitality is reopening, so it means we can go to a restaurant. I just don't know how normal it's going to feel sitting down and eating in one.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to eat out yet. It's weird, isn't it?
It is, but then I suppose it's been such a strange few months. The coronavirus has really affected pretty much everything, and the food and drinks industry is no exception.
True. Now, pubs are going to reopen as well. You might be looking forward to your cheeky chilled glass of wine, unless you've already been taking part in a spot of virtual wine tasting. The Chiachi winery in Italy is everything that you'd expect from a Tuscan vineyard. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Now, Click is always a collaborative effort and each team member is fairly chosen to cover a story. So this week, Click's boss, Simon, decided to delegate this job to himself. Not bad.
With trade shows cancelled and no chance to visit their distributors around the world, this traditional business has taken to Microsoft Teams to do what they normally do in person.
We have to do the virtual tasting only with our distributors because it's a new way to communicate because without other important trade fair. So this is a new way to communicate.
And I'm not saying that in the future trade show will disappear, but I think they will be attended by more and more very interested people with very well-planned schedules.
For us, for example, in our sector, this type of digital transformation and starting to use Microsoft Teams, for us, it was very revolutionary.
If even a business like a winery is thinking about going online, and so many other industries are too, then I wonder if the tech shows we go to every year will ever return in the flesh. Well, booze aside, at a time like this, many of us are thinking about our health more than ever. And that can also mean thinking more about what we're consuming and where it's come from.
In the UK, by some estimates, up to 80% of our food is imported. So travel restrictions and controlled borders could be a real problem unless we can produce more food ourselves.
So Jen Copestake's been to visit a world-first project where the aim is to create more food but cause less damage to the environment. One word: sewage.
Yes, sewage. Every year we produce 1 million tonnes of it in the UK, and it produces its own waste, heat. Interest is growing in how to use this waste heat as a sustainable energy source. And here in East Anglia, it's being used in the building of a unique greenhouse project, which could revolutionise our country's farming industry. This will be the world's first greenhouse that is using heat from a water treatment plant. And that has the benefit of not only reducing the impact on the environment, but also reducing the UK's need to import produce. In the UK, we consume over 500,000 tonnes of fresh tomatoes every year. 80% of this, around 400,000 tonnes, is imported. The same goes for cucumbers and peppers. We import 75% of our cucumbers and 90% of peppers. These new greenhouses could not only help make the UK self-sufficient in produce, but also reduce carbon emissions by 75%. So Ben, we're now walking into the greenhouse. Blimey, it's really big.
Certainly one of the largest in terms of the UK. For every hectare of normal land, a greenhouse like this can produce 10 times more food using 10 times less water. We'd be looking at growing probably about 23 million peppers a year from this particular facility.
So what is that as a percentage of the amount of consumption of peppers in the UK?
I'd say probably 5%.
A conventional greenhouse might use fossil fuels to provide its heat by burning gas or oil. But here the waste heat from the nearby sewage works is pumped 2.5 kilometres via an enclosed loop system to the greenhouse. The idea to use this waste heat came from thermal engineer Neil Lawson.
Well, it was inspiration from nature, really. Walking down the river with a dog on a winter's day, saw a stream coming in from the left and it was steaming and all the ducks were sitting on there, obviously enjoying the warmth. So I followed that stream up to its source and came up to the sewage treatment works. They were discharging 1,000 litres a second of clean water into the river at up to 25 degrees centigrade. That equates to 54 megawatts worth of waste heat. That's enough heating for about 15,000 homes.
And using geographic information system mapping, 43 sites close to wastewater centres have been identified around the country, including the Anglian water treatment plant near Bury St Edmunds.
So we're now at the water recycling plant, where this treated water will then be pumped into a station and the heat will be removed from that process, and then the heat will be transferred to the greenhouse.
We're taking a low source energy, which is otherwise a waste energy, using heat pumps to upgrade or compress that low grade heat to make it useful heat to heat a greenhouse. A greenhouse uses a lot of energy. Here we have an abundant source available.
Another benefit to this new farming technique is reducing reliance on countries where water is no longer so abundant.
Parts of southern Spain, actually, their groundwater now is saline, and they're having to develop saline-resistant crops. Whereas here in the UK, we don't have that problem. It rains all the time. We can get all the water we need from capturing it on the roof, recycling it.
And that's not all the roof can do.
And the entire roof is designed to maximise the amount of light that comes into it, and so much so that the glass is diffuse, and it enables the light to be spread evenly across the entire crop. It's going to be an extremely high-tech greenhouse. It's actually quite remarkable. It might look unassuming, but actually there's a lot of artificial intelligence included in the environmental computers. All the vents are controlled by artificial intelligence. They're constantly scanning Met Office data for prevailing wind directions.
The trend for computer-driven farming is growing. A 6-month autonomous greenhouse competition was recently held in the Netherlands. Teams fully automated the process of growing tomatoes. Sensors, camera detection, and models provided the needed information to get the plants the exact nutrients. And of course, robots play a role in greenhouse production, and here they will be deployed to help carry vegetables around the central aisle to the pack house. There are no plans to use robots like this sweeper bot to help pick the produce yet. But the coronavirus pandemic has highlighted the need to think about growing food locally and perhaps with limited human involvement.
No one knows what the future holds, so with this particular pandemic, let's say the virus could mutate and all of a sudden we don't have enough food. We've benefited from unrestricted movement and free movement of goods as well, and that may be set to change. If we don't have a bit more resilience in the UK on our food production, there could be issues down the line.
These issues could disappear depending on the success of this project. If all 43 sites were up and running, low-carbon farming say they could produce all of the UK's tomato requirements and at least half of its peppers. Until then, the first shipments from here are expected to hit the supermarkets next spring.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. It was the week Microsoft abandoned its own live streaming service Mixer in favour of a partnership with Facebook Gaming instead. Apple announced it will move from using Intel chips in its Mac computers to using its own. Macs will run on the same type of chips as the company's iPhones and iPads. And brands such as Ben & Jerry's, Patagonia and Mozilla pulled their ads from Facebook as part of a campaign to boycott the social media giant over its failure to address hate speech and misinformation. Researchers have brought the possibility of saying "computer, enhance" to our images that little bit closer. A team at Duke University designed a tool that can convert a 16 by 16 pixel image into a 1024 by 1024 pixel image in seconds. Now, being tested for coronavirus may not be a pleasant experience, but a new robot has been developed to help you reach the furthest reaches of your nose. Researchers at the Korea Institute of Machinery and Materials developed this remote-controlled bot that swabs the inside of your nose and helps protect medical workers from coming into contact with potential corona patients. And finally, if you've been missing the aquarium but also feel that animals should be free to roam their natural environments, this robot dolphin, developed by special effects company Edge Innovations, may be the future of sea life attractions. The robo-dolphin weighs a hefty 595 pounds and has a battery life of about 10 hours. There's a click joke here somewhere.
Now, as restaurants open up, they are faced with some serious challenges. They've got to keep their customers at a safe distance from each other, and they have to protect their staff too. And then there's the question of trust. Would you want someone else preparing and handling your food at the moment? Which for us raises the obvious question, is it time to call in the cuisine machines? Is it a vending machine or is it a robot? No idea, but it can cook you croissants fresh on request and a quick quiche if you're lucky. Others can serve hot ramen or pizzas in minutes. Now, hopefully we won't be getting all of our food from vending machines just yet, not until we have to evacuate the planet, but this one is rather smart. It builds salads from scratch.
We use different technologies to dispense different ingredient types, pumps for liquids, paddle wheel type mechanisms for solids, but all these are managed by a software algorithm that provides real-time feedback based on weight to make sure that we dispense all these ingredients very precisely. If we don't, and we try and dispense something like an avocado, we're going to end up dispensing guacamole, or a sliced tomato, we end up dispensing the base of a salsa.
Now, over the years, we've seen more than our fair share of bionic arms mixing drinks and weird whatever that is. They were gimmicks, let's face it. But maybe, just maybe, this is their time. This robot in Belarus can serve more than 300 cups in every 12-hour shift and is already offering an alternative to shuttered coffee shops.
This kind of way of serving the coffee is kind of different from the personal touch of a human, but especially in the time of coronavirus, that's the way I would want to see mostly all the fast food, all the cafes and restaurants.
Absolutely. This coronavirus pandemic accelerated the process of adaptation of robotics technologies.
Other robot arms have been trained to use tools, and for each new ingredient, it takes Alfred here tens of thousands of tries to get to grips with it.
Alfred right now knows how to use ladles, spoons, salad tongs, and dishers. It uses a camera to recognize the material, and then it's able to react to the torques that it feels. That is able to tell it whether it needs to push harder or softer, and it also can look with its camera to determine how much material is actually inside the utensil at any given point.
Alfred isn't as fast as a human server just yet, but it can still plate up to 50 orders per hour. It only operates at its highest speed of 2 meters per second when it senses that no one's around. It slows to a standstill if it detects a human is dangerously close. Right now, this robot is dispensing pick and mix, but its newer, bigger brother will have many arms, many dispensers, and it will soon be feeding Ocado's staff in one of their canteens.
We can take a whole range of orders and our robot will automatically create the optimized routing. We call it a flight path. This is not a technology that is going to overtake. Next spring you're not going to see every restaurant in London with robots in there, but we think over the 3 years, 5 years, 8-year horizon, this robotic technology in kitchens will be as commonplace as a microwave or a food mixer now.
think it's time to get a view from someone who is world famous at using science and tech in the kitchen. It's only Heston Blumenthal. Hey Heston, how are you doing?
Oh, very good.
Do you think that right now, with all of the fears that people have and the restrictions, that there may be a use for more automation in the kitchen?
Robots can be incredible. So a robotic arm to make your favourite cocktail that when you come back into a bar remembers what your favourite cocktail can be amazing. But one of my ideas was to have 2 robotic arms like Tom Cruise. Imagine one of them squeezes a bit in the Negroni out and it goes like a fountain and the other one catches it. And then you could have somebody come in and join in between the 2 of them. It can be magic. They can make money. They can give consistency. But then what happens to the staff? Working with human beings can be a nightmare, but it can be the most rewarding thing in the world. So if a computer can chop an onion really quickly, a robot, get the robot to chop the onion really quickly, so then the human could do something else about being human, can create. So if robots could give humans back their creativity and their imagination, that for me would be unbelievable.
Now, over the years, we've seen quite a few food computers on the programme. These are boxes or even shipping containers full of strawberries or lettuce that are growing under LED lights and in special nutrient mixes. And the advantages, we were told, is that you can grow this food very locally to where it's sold, so you don't have to ship it halfway around the world. And also that you can very precisely control the growing conditions, so you might be able to even improve on the quality of the food that you get out of the ground. What do you think about food computers?
The question you just asked me is exactly our lab here. If you think about growing something, it needs energy. When you apply energy, it's a vibration. Mm-hmm. So sunlight, wind, temperature, animal noises, emotions, all have a major impact. So can you see these?
What's that?
They're 3 jars of rice in water.
Right.
So Dimitri, who's running this every morning, he will give 1 jar gratitude, language but with intention. The other jar he will give a verbal abuse, useless, idiot, stupid. The other jar he'll take no notice of. And after 2 months, the rice that's had love goes more kind of florally fermented, sweet, sometimes golden. The one that's had the abuse goes like an old cheese, and the one that's been ignored is like human poo with vinegar.
Yeah.
So I'll show you this as well.
What's that?
A vibration generator. So you put powder on there, then you apply different frequencies to it. Here, there's a speaker that you put water in, and you apply different frequencies. It's a Tibetan singing bowl.
Yeah.
So we've been making nut milk and ice cream and tea and coffee with applying different frequencies, either through here Fibonacci tuning forks.
Yeah.
And applying those to the liquid that we cook with. There's a noticeable difference.
Listen, Heston, this has been brilliant. I mean,
Space of time.
thanks so much for your time.
Thanks.
Okay, before we go, we just had to get our hands on some tech. A few months back, we sent our resident baker, Omar Metab, to play sous chef to an AI-controlled pizza robot. And this is what happened.
Pizza, arguably the comfiest of comfort foods, and it's eaten by the millions daily around the world. And this one here was put together by a robot. Developed by Picnic, this modular machine is set to put together around 300 pizzas per hour. That's so many that you'd need 3 of these big ovens to cope with that amount. The dough still needs to be prepped by a human, but from there, it's completely automated.
Now, to get this machine running, first you need to select what kind of pizza you want on this tablet. Once you've done that, you place the dough inside underneath this sensor right here. And what that does is it works out the exact location of that dough. Why is that? Because it needs to work out where exactly those ingredients need to be placed on the pie.
There are 4 modules for sauce, cheese, vegetables and meat, but a restaurant offering more on the menu can add however many they want.
In between each ingredient module is a camera, and this camera takes pictures of each stage of the pizza making process. It then sends those pictures back to the AI so it can analyze them and improve itself over time. So the more pizzas it makes, the better it gets. So what you should get in the end is the perfect pizza. But there's one thing that I still have to do, which is take it from this machine and put it in here so it can bake.
What we're doing is we're digitizing what has been a completely manual process. So we're capturing data about ingredient usage, ordering patterns, sometimes you have food waste because you bought too much of an ingredient, you didn't use it. People can order directly off of their phone, and the system can tell the customer exactly when their pizza will be ready because it'll know where it is in the queue.
Right, now I'm gonna put this machine to the test, a taste test. You know, I dabble in a bit of baking myself, so I'm gonna bake my own pizza and compare the two and see which one comes out better. 2, 1, and it's ripped. Oh, hey.
And this means I can be as specific as I want, like taking out some black olives and adding extra cheese on top. Things the machine can't do. But if you're inexperienced, like me, that may come with a price.
Oh no. The rest of it is stuck to the mesh.
And now to taste. First, mine. Yeah, alright, I'll be honest, it was awful. And the machines? Oh, sod it.
Okay, I lost.
And since the pandemic began, the companies say they have also seen an increase in business as social distancing in kitchens and food preparation free of human contact becomes desirable. But is there a danger that the restaurants who use this machine could have very similar food to each other?
When we encounter a customer, we want to use their ingredients, their style, however they like to make their pizza. We want to make the same pizza that the chef is already making, just make it much more consistently and make it much more easily with lower food waste.
So these machines could fill up the kitchens of pizzerias in the future, unless you want to stick to a human's touch. Well, yeah, not mine.
Can someone help?
Man loves his food. Man loves his food. That was Omar. And that's it for this week. We hope that we have given you some food for thought.
Yes, you can keep track of the team throughout the week on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at BBC Click.
Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.